Liquid Mix.
This is Stuck in Real Podcast. I am your host, Reflex, a platform for entrepreneurs, innovators, creators of African descent. When you hear stories, ideas, experiences, how we can break the mold. Appreciate y'all checking this episode out, man. If you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit the bell notification so you get updates every time we drop something new. Hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment. We want to know that y'all out there watching. Leave a comment. If you're driving around listening on Spotify, do a screenshot, but not while you're driving. Send it to your ex, send it to your auntie, and WhatsApp. Everybody gotta hear this. You heard? Appreciate y'all checking this episode out, man. We have a special guest in the building joining us today. She's an agilist at its best. She's driven by gratitude, a U.S. Army Staff Sergeant turned Scrum Master. She's too rich, and we're grateful to have her in our presence today. We have Mbengam in the building. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Why you laugh when I say you're rich? Scrum Master ain't no little
I want
thing.
to claim that. I want to claim it. I want to say I'm not rich, but I want to claim it for the
future.
Yes, I want to claim that.
So what's an agilist? What's an agilist?
All right. So being an agilist is really a mindset, right? And I think that's a mindset that I live with every single day, knowing that things are not always going to go my way, but my attitude about it, right? Just having that vibe. It's all about the vibe. And just knowing that in life, like I mentioned, you're not going to always get what you want. But when the things that you really want, you don't get it, how do you react to it? Yeah. And from there, for me, at least I know everything that don't happen well in my life, that's an opportunity for me to grow and to learn, right? So, and that's what I'm really trying to do, helping these teams and organizations get to that mindset of, hey, we're not always going to deliver as we say we're going to deliver, right? But when it doesn't happen, what's our next step? Right. And what's our attitude? And how can I create that experience where it's like, let's understand the people, right? Because the people are the one who actually do the delivery for the work, right? So if we can understand who the people are, then we can get to our product we know.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Cameroon. I was born and raised there. I came here when I was 8 years old.
So I grew up with siblings, family?
Yes. So I have about 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow, big family.
One of 8, big, yeah. And I lived most of my life in Boston. I've been there for 18 years. I just moved here, relocated here about a year ago.
Hey, welcome to the good side.
You know what? It is a great side. I really am happy that I'm here because Boston, I exceeded my growth. And here it's just...
You don't hear that a lot. People just, stuck where they at and, I exceeded my... That's dope. That's a
stuck
bar.
in the middle.
Hey, that's a bar. Were you generally good at school, like growing up in Cameroon and in Boston here?
Yes. I was that student that always wanted to make sure that the work... I was also an athlete, so I was a student athlete. So my goal, at least for me... knowing my experience and people that have come here before me was just making sure that I was good, right? Like I took care of what I needed to take care of. Sometimes you're going to do things you don't like to do in order for you to be where you want to be. And those are things like, especially in college, I used to party with my friends at night, but then I knew that I also had to get up at 2 a.m. and study for that test that's about to happen at 7
So you just coming for the party, going straight to the books.
Yeah, right. But that I knew that's the sacrifice that I was willing to make. Facts. So I did graduate college with honors. I did graduate high school in honors. So but for me is after you graduate, right, what they don't tell you is the life after that. What happens, right? Because there's not like this rule book in life that tells you that, hey, after you graduate, these are the things and opportunities that is going to open up for you. And that's something that I had to figure out, like, okay, what makes Anna happy? I needed to figure out who I am. Yeah. Right?
And so is that how you ended up in the United States Army? Or was anybody in your family in the Army?
So that's a long story. So I wanted to go to West Point for track and field. And if you don't know West Point is one of the biggest and highest ranked military schools, actually. So initially I was getting recruited for them for track and field. But then I was 17 years old of age and I was not an American citizen. So I got my because in order for you to be in the school, you have to get a letter from the senators and also get a letter from your councilman. I got all of those and also like talking to the school and recruiters. But when I got there, I got everything. Now it's time for me to actually go there. They're telling me, oh, you cannot really come here because you have to be a citizen.
Yeah.
So I already went to the school. They already invited me to come on there with like other bunch of the students that were selected for candidacy. So I said, you know what? My brother went to Mass Maritime, right? That's a school in a military school. So I kind of like sat back and just look at my brother that went to regular traditional, a American International College, how he lives his life, and then look at my brother's life that goes to a military school. Is very structured, very structured. So I say, how can I have the best of both worlds? So I decided to do Army Reserve, go to Army Reserve route, and I wasn't even old enough to sign for myself. My brother at that time was my guardian, so he had to be there in order for me to sign. So when I graduated high school, I also enrolled into college, my brother's school, because I was also getting recruited for track and field there. And then I said, as an obligation, I said, hey, in order for me to sign for the military, I need to make sure that I can go through my first semester of college. So I went through my first semester of college. And then later on, I went to the Army Reserves.
How many years did you serve? Thank you for your service, by the way.
9 years and counting.
Oh, so you still
I'm
serve?
still in, yes.
Dang. So how did that translate to Scrum? How did you go from that's the thing, Army Staff Sergeant to Scrum Master?
So it all came when I started college. When I graduated college, I'm just trying to figure out my life, right? I got a job as I was a social worker for Massachusetts Children and Families. But then I started thinking to myself, what's the difference between the people that are making $8 and the people that are making $100? And it really was the mindset, right? So once I started asking myself these questions, like, what is happiness to you, Anna? I just started being in a space where it was pushing me for growth, and I was meeting the right people in my life, right? So I also was thinking into getting into IT, but I wasn't really into the technical side of things. So my at that time, my sister's former roommate was she did Oracle database. So I started looking into that, but I was like, I'm not quite into all of that stuff. And she was like, hey, I think you might be really good at Scrum. So I said, this is weird. I play rugby, and Scrum is a terminology used in rugby. So I was like, this is interesting too. So let me look into it. So I did look into it. I'm a self-starter. I'm a self-learner. And if I'm one of those people, if I said I want to do it, as long as I've understood my why, right? Because my why was really trying to improve my life and
go from $8 to
$100, right? So I put in the work, did the research, and I said, hey, now I got the knowledge. I know that I will have gaps. Let me start looking within the community and seeing who can be a mentor to me.
Who's a Scrum Master though? Like, we've had one of our most watched episodes on this platform, over a dozen views on YouTube. It's by Kate Champ. She's a Scrum Master as well. She has a school, much like you do. But, just fleshing it back for people watching for the first time right now. Who's a Scrum Master? What's Scrum?
What does a Scrum Master do? So Scrum Master is, I would say, a servant leader. So just think about there's 3 roles in this framework, right? So when you think about Agile methodology, and under the Agile methodology comes Scrum, right? Scrum is the framework within this process. And our goal is really to help our team members to be able to deliver in a short amount of time, short sustainable pace, right? And which goes back to the mindset I was saying, that when things happen, right, when things happen in your life, right, where you're not expecting it to happen, how you react to it. So, for example, COVID happened, right? A lot of companies went bankrupt. A lot of companies couldn't function because they were not agile. They were not thinking of how can we be able to adjust and adapt if something didn't go as planned, right? So our role as Scrum Masters is to help our teams to adopt this mindset. And by teaching them processes in place, that's going to help them. So now we're put into teams. We can be put into 1 or 2 teams. And we see ourselves as change agent, right? So if you're doing you're working in a waterfall way, right? Waterfall is the old project management style, and you understand that your end user your end user is looking for an output, right, a shippable product from you in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they might not have visibility in the process. They might not have visibility to the changes that happen. While in Agile and Scrum, we provide that visibility to you. So at least by the time we get to your 6 months mark, you could have made the right adjustments that's needed in order for you to make sure that this is actually what I wanted, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're involving the business, and we're involving the developers, and we're involving the the stakeholders that are part of it to make them part of the process, so that we can, at the end of the day, we can deliver what they're actually going to use.
Listen, this ain't no job interview. You know what I'm saying? But you got the job. Yeah, you got the job. Boston and then the DMV. You said you just moved here, but even me, I was trying to get into Scrum one time too. 'Cause I was like, this bagging this joint.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you've done the research in the DMV. But what's the average or the median salary for a Scrum Master in the DMV area, or Boston for that matter, because you lived for a while there?
Yeah. So I think the medium there is 96 to 150. Right. That also goes to like your years experience. So what I do is I teach people experience, right? And I think everybody has experience. So I help you to transfer whatever experience you've had into this space, right? Earlier you asked me a question, how does Scrum and Army get together?
96 to start?
Yes.
I'm still hung on that. But go ahead.
So you asked me how did Scrum and Army come together.
Right.
It's like once I finally did my research, I started seeing like the things in my life that I was already doing that was already within the framework.
The experience.
And the Army uses this framework, right? There are certain things, events that we do in the Army that follows literally this, right? But it's called something else. Like, for example, there's retrospective in Scrum, right, as one of the events. And in the Army, there's something called after action, right? After action is really after your training, your mission is over. You kind of have to put every soldier in the room and say, hey, what were we supposed to do? What do we do? And what can we do to improve? And it's the same format you will use for Scrum, right?
Do you necessarily need a clearance?
Clearance to do what?
To
The
get
Army
in
or
to
Scrum?
get in Scrum or to make that big bag?
You don't necessarily need a clearance. I don't have a clearance. I should have a clearance because I am in the Army, but you don't necessarily. As far as like education, it would be recommended. I really think it's all about people's energy and the value that they bring into our organization, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to hire somebody that you know is going to come and bring change and be impactful, right? And you can go to college and still not have that qualities that is needed, right? You cannot teach people how to care for their job.
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
so,
yeah.
yep.
How did Scrum Master Champions LLC come about? How did I?
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
That's your baby.
Yes, it is. So when I got into this space, I was, out of my friends, I was one of the few that was making six figures. And when I say it gets lonely in the top, it does get lonely. And I couldn't.
You were tired of paying all the bills when y'all go out?
No, that wasn't even it. It was like your friends couldn't understand your language, right? Like there's a different lingo that you have now, right? Because
it's like my tax bracket ain't on y'all bracket, you know what I'm saying?
So in
I got
order
the New Testament.
for me to get my friends involved, so I started talking about it with my friends, and at least to them before it was like, what is that, Scam Master? I was like, hey, if it's a scam, I'm scamming, then I'm making it right? So it's like, do you want to join the scam world or what's up?
Right.
So, but I think that people wake up at different time in their lives, right? So maybe that time I woke up and that was the opportunity that was presented to me. At that time when I was sharing with them, they were not woke. So it takes time for people, but it's like me continuously looking at them and saying, hey, have you considered this? Have you considered that? Right. So I started bringing my friend on board and, basically teaching my friends for us to level set. Right. So once they started getting in, I realized I was like, all right, hey, we're all Scrum Masters now, right? And now what I do with my sessions is I bring my friends because they were there before I even got started, right? This is how I actually knew that I could teach people. I can actually change other people's lives. So they were my use cases and my test cases because it worked. It's more believable for somebody to come in and say, hey, these are people that you took, right? And they didn't have tech background and now they're Scrum Masters. So that's why I became the Scrum Master champions, because then my friends started becoming mentors. So when I bring people in, I have my friends to mentor them. And because my way of teaching might be different from theirs, and I want to, the big part about this whole thing is exposure, right? And I'm all about helping to the very T. If somebody's coming to me that they want their goal achieved, I'm going to make sure we're aligned because it is an investment and I don't want you to waste your investment, right? And if you want an outcome, if you're coming to me, you're telling me that, hey, Anna, I'm ready. And if you're ready, then we're going to make sure that within your 90 days, you should be able to get a job. Right?
With experience.
Yes.
Aye. When next are you and your friends having brunch?
So I guess there's another friend who lives here.
You know why I ask, right?
No, we're not in. But it is good though, because now we're all speaking the same language, right? And we're actually venturing out to do more of our Airbnb. So we have different group chats. We have like one for traveling, one for Airbnb discussion, business ventures, and now we have one for Scrum Masters. So depending on the conversation you want to have, we go to that chat to conversate.
Real quick, so for somebody looking to get into right now, watching, listening, where, what is the price, the session? You mentioned 90 days. Break it down.
Okay. So at least for me particularly, this is just an option, right? I'm not saying that mine is like the best thing to go with, but I will say that I am very intentional what I do, and I make sure that you get very result driven. So the first 4 weeks that you come, you learn in the basic foundational.
It's all in person or virtual?
Virtual.
Okay.
So just to backtrack, all right? So some of the classes that I have are pre-recorded. It's 8 videos, all right? In those 8 videos, I give it to the students, and they're expected to watch 2 of those videos per week for the first 4 weeks. Okay, so they watch 2 videos a week. When they come to class, we get to break it down. If there's something you didn't understand, then we'll go ahead and talk about it. The reason for that was because when I did a live class, there are people who have different learning styles, right? And if I'm teaching something and one person is stuck on that and the other 5-6 other people got it, to them it seems like they're just sitting there wasting time, whereas now you can just click and press and do whatever it is, right? So when you come to class, the expectation is we run it as though you would be doing the job. So we do a stand-up. So the stand-up is expected to say, what did you learn the last class, meaning the video? What did you have blockers on? What is an agile thing that you did with your day? All right. So that way it's pushing people to see that you're living an agile lifestyle. You just don't know it. Right. But now if you understand what it is, it's an easier concept for you to be able to relate in an interview, right? Or in your day to day. So once we go through the 4 weeks, the next 4 weeks, we're talking about your resume, your about me, doing a mock interview. So a mock interview, I normally bring my friends into the mix and say, hey, we're going to do mock interviews. We give them feedback, how they're doing. And then once you do your feedback, and the students also do their retrospective in the class, right? For the last 4 weeks, how have we been doing? What are things that you guys need more, less of? Where do you feel like you need more support? From that, we're going to, they sometimes come up with action items. Hey, we need to have study sessions aside from A&R sessions, right? And that's up to them. But the resources are there. You don't got
to tell them all your bag. They can call you.
The resources are there. So after the 4 week on their mock interview, that's now 8 weeks. The next 4 weeks, we have partner up with another Agilist in the community. So we do interview preps on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 6 to 90 minutes, right? From 6 to 7:30 p.m. interview prep. So if you're really serious about wanting to get a job, you will get a job. I've had people 8 week, 7 week, right? Because the thing is, if you're driven, right, I have provided a resource with you and the roadmap that you need. all you really need to do is your
Apply it.
commitment and apply yourself.
And pay for it.
Yes.
Because you ain't free.
And not cheap.
What's the bag like? I mean, you can hit you up.
No, definitely. I don't mind sharing.
But for somebody who wants to, like, it's like, okay, I want more information. You have a free ebook you mentioned?
Yes, I do have a free ebook. I have a couple of ebooks. One of them is it's like a roadmap to kickstart your journey. So this is somebody who wants to do it on their own, right? You can do it on your own. I did it on my own. And so you can, but it just might take you longer. So I have a free ebook for that to help you. Now, if you need, I would definitely say mentorship. It would be helpful in addition to that ebook. But I also have another ebook. It's like literally sharing my journey, how I got here, right? And if you were to do the same thing, like literally change my story and put it into yours, you should be able to get to the same result, because this has been tested multiple times. And then I have another ebook that I just came out with. It's 90-day guide for becoming an highly effective Scrum Master. And this guide is for somebody who has gotten the job. You got the job, day one, what do I do? Right? Sometimes people need that. Imposter syndrome is a thing. And being an African American or just African person, I personally have an accent. And I know when I got here I was a little bit shy with how people would perceive me with my accent, if they're really going to understand me and stuff like that. But then that's why I took the challenge of becoming a Scrum Master, because I realized that that's the skill set that I need. I have something powerful for the world and people need to listen. So I say all of that to say that this Scrum Master role, besides the fact that you can make money, is an opportunity for you to build yourself up personally.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people when you try to get into different career levels. Besides the money, take away the money. What is something that you see as a weakness within yourself that you can leverage in the role? Because once you start using that purpose line, you're more intentional. You become more intentional and want to do more and want to support other people and guide people, right? And there are people who can have two Scrum Master jobs, but it doesn't give them time to help another person. But I would rather have one and help the masses, right? So there it is.
When we come back, we'll learn more from Anna about her clubhouse room and what it takes to be a great Scrum Master. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by our online store, sitmpodcast.com/store. You get hoodies, t-shirts, crew necks, all kind of incredible stuff. That's the machine that drives this show, that drives this brand. We appreciate every single one of y'all rocking with us. And definitely, if you want to, get in touch with us, sponsor us, send us an email, sitmpodcast237@gmail.com. We appreciate it. We can work something out. I am your host, Reflex. Let's get back to the show, man. It's getting spicy. Let's get back to the show. Let's go. So, like, what essentially does it take to be a great Scrum Master? Like, before we got on the air, my man Charles said, my sister's Scrum Master, my brother's Scrum Master, my other sister's trying to be a Scrum Master, my other sister's trying to be a Scrum Master. I wanted to be a Scrum Master, you know what I'm saying? Let's all be Scrum Masters, but everybody can get in the joint, but not everybody is great at it. What does it take to be a good Scrum Master, in your opinion?
In my opinion, there are three things, right? I think a level of care. You can't teach people how to care. Having an emotional intelligence to really say, it's not about you, right? Because you're working with a group of people and people respond to words differently. Being able to understand other people's point of view, I think it's big, and not taking anything personal, because I think in this world, in this field we work in, it's quick for you to take things personal because you're the agent of you leading it. So if somebody says, I don't like how retrospective is being ran, in your head you're going through and saying that you don't like my work, you don't like me, right? So separating yourself from all of that, I think it's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is being open to a new mindset. I cannot stress this enough, because this role will challenge you in ways that the money you're making, you're gonna get up and say, damn, do I need this money today? Right? You will find your match. You will find people who will challenge you. And I think the big part is to ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be learning from this experience?
Yeah, I want to get into like a little bit of nitty gritties of like Scrum stuff, but the reason you're sitting here is because of my shout out to my incredible. You know, every guest that comes through, she books them, but she got connected with you through Clubhouse, and you actually have a Clubhouse room. Is this still a thing? How beneficial has it been to your audience, to you? Because Clubhouse boomed through the pandemic. Yeah.
Thank God for Clubhouse. So when
bro, you customize. It's like
hella customers, exposure, right? And I think that's another thing. I don't remember the last time that I posted a flyer saying that I teach this class, but every month I get at least 6 to 7, 10 people in class, right? So that's the power of social media that I'm really actually the power of also being intentional and helping people, because if you help one person, the person is going to tell their auntie, sister, uncles, and aunties, right? The experience, and now you have a client. And for Clubhouse, I do still run Clubhouse. Actually, I do have crucial conversations coming up this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Agile Sundays. So Agile Sundays, we have groups of Agilists. I think I'm the youngest of the Agilist panel in there with my years of experience. Compared to, we have like Scrum Masters, other Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, and also release student engineers that come in there, share their experiences, and just have hard conversations. And we give an opportunity for other people that are looking to come into the field or experiencing issues or concerns with their organization. It's a space, right? And I think part of being an Agilist or being a Scrum Master in this field, you need people, right? Because you're if not, you're gonna feel like,
in general,
literally, you feel like you're in a silo. You're doing this by yourself, but in reality, there's a whole bunch of people feeling the same way, but nobody's talking.
Right, yeah.
So I think the biggest part for me, I'm a social butterfly. I like to talk to people. Literally, if there was just the wall here, I'd probably be talking to the wall, right? Because I like to connect with people and get to understand and where they're coming from, their mindset. So yes, to your question, am I still hosting Clubhouse? Yes. Has it been beneficial? Incredibly, beneficial to me. And it's just the support that's out there. It's massive.
I remember when my brother was getting into it. I don't know if it's my brother or my sister. They went through something, took the I don't know if they took a class, took an exam, and found out it was the wrong exam. So what are the platforms, the legit one for Scrum? You know, I know there's scrum.org. What is the platform, the right one to become real certified, accredited?
So there's Professional Scrum Master, and that's the PSM. The PSM is self-driven, right? Like the self-starters, you want to do it on your own, and you self-start yourself. You go and take the exam. Boom. You don't need any required class time to do that. But then there's 3 levels. There's the PSM1, PSM2, and PSM3. Where I tell people when they talk about certification, does it matter? No, because when you come there, we're all Scrum Masters. They don't go and ask you, are you certified Scrum Master or professional Scrum Master? So it's the matter of, do you know your content? Do you know your craft?
Can you perform?
Because that's the biggest decider, right? So there's Scrum.org, there's Scrum studies that other people do use. I'm a SAFE program consultant. There's SAFE. I came through the SAFE program route. I'm in the SAFE route, and now I'm a program consultant. What that means is I can go into organizations as a contractor and literally lead the process along with other program consultants, right? Which is the goal for my Scrum Master champions in the future to be able to.
You make sure you come from a large family. You married?
No, I am not married.
The DM's open?
Yes, it is.
Very, very open. Yeah, I can slide in them joints. Just had to get that out the way. What do you do for fun, like when you're not working, and how, you know what I'm saying, how do you overcome challenges as a Scrum Master, just personal life?
What I do for fun, I do travel. I have a couple of trips that are coming up. I work out every day besides Saturday and Sundays. And believe it or not, talking about Scrum is fun to me. So I know you just look at me.
But you know what I'm saying? But that's what you do for a living, in and out of work. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
You build people's lives, you teach it, you know, you live it.
Literally.
It's a lifestyle, like your shirt
said.
It
really is a lifestyle. sadly, but that's my reality. So I do work out. I do, connect with my friends and also talk about business venture. I'm very into the business mindset. You can give me $1 today, I can invest it in you in multiple other ways. Believe it or not. But yeah, those are the things that I do for fun.
What's the next trip?
DR, it's coming up in November.
This guy Charles, you about to see you there in November.
You going to DR?
I've been, man. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Please, I can't. Please let me know some places to go.
Rule Republica.
Okay.
What do you see Scrum champions LLC in the next 5 years? You mentioned helping the masses here, moving from Boston. I imagine you did it there. But just looking, you from Cameroon, you mentioned, just looking back home, is this something that can be implemented back home?
Yep.
How do we take it there? You know what I mean? Is it needed?
I think it's needed everywhere because this is not only for software development. I see it in every shape or form in life development, right? Personal development. Yes, I do think that it can venture out, but I think with the mindset is the biggest one that you have to first break, right? Because even when I became a Scrum Master, I also became a life coach because I realized the importance of helping people to get that shift. When people, sometimes they come and say, hey, I need an interview, but they don't understand that the mindset that they have is not suitable for the job that they're looking for. So what I have to do first is adjust that mindset. Now, once you're adjusted, then you're willing to be open to achieve the goal that you're looking for. So to your question, do I plan to have this in Cameroon soon yes, I do plan. I have shared it with my relatives, my one of my nieces that I sponsored to go to school in Cameroon. This was one of the things that I said, hey, start looking into this, right? It's not something that you need to do it right now. At least for now, do whatever it is that you went to school for. But in the future, I think that this would be an avenue to go.
Yeah,
into.
What books would you suggest somebody get started with reading, when it comes to Scrum?
When it comes to Scrum, read my book.
Free ebook.
So there's one for free and there's another one for Scrum Master for beginners. And literally the 90-day guide, believe it or not, if you want to get into the job, you want to be able to see what's in there before you get there, right? Like to get a full picture. I think that's like a place to start. And what makes this book different is that it's very practical. It literally tells you like, hey, your first day with your manager, this are the conversations to have, right? Your first day with your team members or product owner, these are the conversations to have. You want to have working agreement? This is the conversation. Yes, a template for you. So everything is literally how to. So you can be successful in your role and not question yourself every time you make a decision or you say something, right? Yeah. So, and then there's another book that I read, a couple of books that I have read. There's not so much books, but so podcasts. So there's podcasts out there. It's called Scrum Master Toolbox.
Yeah, my brother listens to that.
Yeah, I still listen to it to this day. And then there's Agile for Humans. And then there's another one.
Agile for Humans.
Agile for Humans. And these podcasts are not anything more than 10, 11, 12, 15 minutes.
If it's long form, you go listen if you're serious.
It's short. It's really short. It's very short. And if people are really intentional, I tell people that comes to me and say, you're talking about experience you don't have. First start by learning other people's experiences. Yes. Because now it gives you perspective into what you're looking
That's why
for.
we're here. That's why you're here.
Exactly right.
Yeah. What's outside of Scrum? What's the last book you read? Just personal, real quick.
The last book I read was, my friend gave it to me actually. It's Professional Scrum Masters.
Scrum again.
Yeah, literally. No, the last book I read that is not Scrum related, Think and Grow Rich. I actually read that book consistently. I've been reading it for the past 3 years. So what I do is, because that book is so powerful.
Think and Grow Rich, Dave Ramsey?
No, Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
That book, literally...
Yeah,
it's a format that I actually use when I structure my program, right? To help people to get to that mindset without telling them that, hey, these are the things that come out from Think and Grow Rich. Because in order for you to get people into a mindset, if you tell them, hey, go read that book, they'll never do it. But if I digest it for them and then put it in a formula that will work for them, it's easier for them to actually gravitate to it. So
sure.
Think and Grow Rich is a book that I read at least every 3 months.
Mm-hmm. When are you bowing out from the United States Army? Not to say, you can buy out, but...
I plan to do 20 years. I also plan to become a warrant officer before I retire.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say Scrum helped me a lot with my military career, public speaking. I'm in a position right now as a staff sergeant that I do lead people, and I cannot be in a position of supervisor role where I'm called to come in formation and I cannot lead, right? So it forces me to lead, to be a leader from inside out. Mm-hmm. So I have no choice but to lead.
Hey, thank you again for your service. Do you think it's gonna get saturated, the Scrum Master market?
Absolutely not. Have you checked online? Actually, whoever's listening
I gotta
right
ask
now,
you, you know what I'm saying, for the people.
Google right now Scrum Master. Go on LinkedIn. There's thousands. I think there's more and more coming out. The more other organizations are knowing the benefit or seeing the benefit, right? If you're working in one way, it's not working. Clearly, you want to try something else. Different. And if everyone else is saying that this is successful, why not? Yeah. Apple uses this same format. Mm-hmm. Facebook does.
Meta, not Apple. I mean, is it Facebook?
Well, it's still Facebook until they change it.
Meta division. Speaking of jobs, there's a lot of job titles listing. Scrum Master,
Agile delivery
/ program manager.
Yeah.
Like, what is the difference there?
So I tell people stay away from the ones that want to do 2-in-1, right? Yes, you make great money. Those jobs you're coming at 160, maybe 180, but it doesn't mean you might sleep at night, right? So if you're coming from if you've never done this before, you're trying to do 2 roles that you've never done before, it can be very overwhelming. It will put you and stretch you in ways that you never imagined, and that can be over. I sleep very well at night.
Cause that bag heavy, huh? I'm like heavy in her, but I'm
literally.
I apologize, I'm heavy. I'm like DJ Evan.
I sleep at night because I'm at peace with myself, and I feel like I'm doing the things that I want to do.
What's next for you? Today, tomorrow, what are you most curious about? Like right now, the first thing that comes to mind, what are you most curious about? I'm most curious about... Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to start getting into real estate, which is why I'm also tapping into Airbnb right now. I just purchased a home that I'm using for Airbnb. And I would say I didn't think Laurel would be as lucrative, but it really is.
Yeah, as long as it's like close to Moco, DC, Baltimore.
Yes, it's a really big bag. But Airbnb and real estate it's like next for me.
Yo, this has been really informative. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope it gives value to people listening. We have had Anna Mbengam on the platform. I ain't butchered this time.
No.
How can people get in contact with you? Social media, all that good stuff. How can they learn more? Just pick your brain, get into real estate, Airbnb, everything you got going.
So my social media is Scrum Champions, Scrum_Champions. That's the same. I think it's the same thing for my Clubhouse. My Clubhouse is Scrum Master, actually. Scrum Master. You cannot miss it. Tons of people connected with me just with the name Scrum Master. And on Facebook, I'm just Anna Mbengam. So I'm happy to connect with people. One thing I try to do is to set boundaries, right? Because if not, I would be talking about Scrum in my sleep too. So if you really want to connect with me, the first thing I would do is send you my calendar, put calendar on the time that makes sense for both of us to connect, and then we'll go that route.
There you go. Listen, if you enjoy what you heard, what you watched, hit the subscribe button, bell notifications so you get updates every time we drop something new. We got a packed house today, the whole team in the building at Cherry Tutu Chow. Shout out to Ines, Choo Choo, aka Ma. You enjoyed? You had fun?
Yeah, this was good.
Yeah, this was dope. Appreciate you coming through. This was really good. Appreciate you coming through.
No, thank you. I appreciate every chance that I get to share about this opportunity with our brothers and sisters. I'm always delighted for it. So thank you.
For sure, for sure. Up next, man, listen, if you're watching this, we got Artist Spotlight with Tutu and Charles is, sliding on this one. We got the big boss. We got the Tax Sounds champion. That man, Claude the Martian in the building. This is Stuck Me the Podcast. I'm your host, Reflex. Appreciate y'all watching this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you.
It's Liquid Mix.